I always wanted to be a gardener growing up. I was part of the landscape, and so I started a landscape business when I was 18, and we called it Appleseed. And so it was pretty cool to go over to the billionaire side and become gardeners. I became the gardener for the founders of Taco Bell, the Mott's applesauce family, and the Shah of Iran's sister. Now remember, this is 1980, so the hostages were being held at 79, 80, and kind of that Argo thing I was kind of part of, which was kind of cool. But I got to be friends with all those people, and the landscape business really was taking off. And so was my freestyle. I was kept playing Frisbee and being down there, alternative sport-wise. And I went to my first Frisbee tournament. At the time, there was 36 tournaments in North America that you could go to. And if you did well enough at a few of those, you could make it to the national championships. So that was my goal, to make it to the nationals. And I kept playing, and by 1982, I made it to the world champion team. And it was pretty cool. Those guys asked me to be their partner, and I was really honored. My partners were Joey Hudocklin from New York City and Crazy John Brooks from Kansas City, and I was from Santa Barbara. So we formed this team, and we went all around the world together. We started doing our freestyle together, which is, we had to play 5-minute routines choreographed to music. So we did dance music routines, and I specialized in ballet, modern dance, and break dancing. And the other guys did too, and we'd fly around, and we ended up touring with the Beach Boys, Stevie Ray Vaughan. We did the first American rock and roll tour. We went over to China in 1987, and it's a pretty cool story, what happened in China, but I grabbed my roommate's skateboard at the last minute, which, by the way, my roommate was my gardening partner. And we were raking leaves. I was still playing pro, but I was kind of in between going on the road quite a bit. And I said, I'm going to take off, and I think I have a 200-day tour coming up. And we were at one of the estates in Montecito, and he goes, Chipper, you got to rake a lot of leaves to go on that tour. So I was like, yeah, it'd take a lot of work if I was a gardener. So I just jumped ship and went for it, which at the time, it was kind of interesting, where Anheuser-Busch approached us and said, we want to sponsor you guys. And so we looked at each other and like, so I throw to you, you throw to me, they're going to pay us, and we drink beer. I'm in. So I went almost 11 years with them, and China ended up, 3 guys down here. This is Crazy John, and this is Joey, myself. We went to, when we first got to Shanghai, we had no idea that they had never seen a rock and roll concert. And when Jan and Dean finished, which wasn't the most popular music in our book at the time, but Little Old Lady from Pasadena or Sidewalk Surfing or stuff like that, the audience wasn't moving. So we went out in the audience because we had toured with all these other bands, and we knew that we could fire up the bands with Frisbees and fun. And so we fired up the crowds in China, in Shanghai Stadium, in Beijing, and I toured for about a month and a half to different cities. And so the venues were about 20,000 people or something. Anyways, one of the guys, we got him out of his seat, and we pulled him up, and we started dancing. We're like, it's okay to dance, dude. Come on, let's dance. The music's going. Thinking that people might have lighters or stuff. There's nothing. So we got this guy out of his seat, and he started to wiggle and dance. It was the neatest moment, but it was that moment that we touched his hand and got him dancing. And it was no more than a minute or two, these security guards came and got him. And it was kind of sad because, he was just dancing there, and they kind of whisked him off and took him away, and the show's going, and, we kind of waited. But he was arrested and put in prison, and right away. Well, we went on our tour and kept going. Anyways, our tour, that arrest had sparked demonstrations. And the demonstrations, when we got finally at the end of our tour, we were in Hong Kong, and it was the largest cultural demonstrations occurred since the 1976 Cultural Revolution. And Newsweek magazine said the demonstrations were sparked by members of the Jan and Dean duo. And that was our Frisbee team. We went out there, and that led up to Tiananmen Square, the guy with the tank. I didn't go there for pro-democracy. I didn't go there for any of that. I just went there, and it was pretty cool when the crowds would come out. They'd push the crowds back, and I'd go under the borders to be with the people, and they wanted autographs and stuff. But it was interesting that they started pulling on my clothes and pulling on me, and I was like, well, that's cool. And they're like, no, dude, you got to get back, because they're pulling on democracy. They want you. They want a piece of you. That made me even more encouraged to go further, you know. Not that I would make a difference, but at least I can touch one.